The training hall fell silent as Zia landed the finishing blow, her opponent, a 7-foot Krathari warrior, crumpling to the padded floor with a resonant thud that echoed through the vast chamber. Around the sparring arena, dozens of alien cadets from across the galaxy stared in stunned disbelief. The human girl, barely 18 standard years old and looking deceptively fragile among the towering forms of her classmates, barely seemed winded. Instructor Vexthul, a seasoned Altarian with 4 arms and battle-scarred chitin, stepped forward. His compound eyes fixed on Zia as she helped her opponent to his feet, a gesture of sportsmanship that seemed to confuse the assembled aliens even more than her victory. Cadet Zia. Vexthul's voice carried the authority of someone who had trained warriors for 3 centuries. In my years instructing combat techniques at the Galactic Defense Academy, I have never witnessed such creativity in fighting form. The other cadets murmured agreement. Zia hadn't used any of the standard combat styles taught in the Academy's curriculum. Instead, she had employed a bewildering mix of techniques that seemed to flow from pure instinct, dodging with impossible flexibility, striking from unexpected angles and using her opponent's size against him in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. Your movements, Vexthul continued, circling her with predatory grace. They're unlike anything in our databases. The way you adapted mid-combat, turned defense into offense, used misdirection. Who taught you to fight like this? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Zia glanced around at her fellow cadets, the hulking Draconis with their natural armor, the swift Zephyrians with their 4 legs built for speed, the psychically gifted Mentari who could read an opponent's intentions before they formed. All of them had been trained by the finest military instructors their species could offer. All of them were elite warriors from worlds with proud martial traditions, and all of them had been consistently outperformed by this small human from Earth, a planet most still considered a backwater death world. Zia shrugged, a gesture that somehow managed to be both humble and confident. My 6-year-old sister. The silence stretched impossibly long. Several cadets looked confused, their translators apparently working fine but the words making no sense. Vexthul's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or disbelief. Your sister? He repeated slowly. Yeah, Elsa, she's 6. Zia pulled a holographic display from her pocket, showing the image of a small girl with wild brown hair and mischievous eyes, currently grinning while hanging upside down from what appeared to be playground equipment. Been sparring with her since she was 4. A child, Vexthul said flatly. A human child taught you combat techniques that have defeated some of the finest young warriors in the galaxy. Well, Zia said, warming to the subject, you've never tried to wrestle a 6-year-old? They're like tiny drunk people with no sense of self-preservation and unlimited energy. Elsa doesn't fight by any rules because she doesn't know there are rules. She'll grab hair, bite, kick, throw sand, hide behind furniture, fake injuries, team up with the cat, whatever works. A few alien cadets exchanged glances. The concept was apparently difficult to grasp. You see, Zia continued, beginning to pace as she explained, adult warriors, even alien ones, no offense, they think in patterns. You telegraph your moves because you're following trained techniques, but Elsa, she once won a wrestling match by pretending to be asleep, then sweeping my legs when I got close. She taught me that the best defense is complete unpredictability. Vexthul's 4 arms folded across his chest. And this preparation works against trained soldiers? On Earth, kids don't just play gentle games, Zia said. We have tag. That's combat training for speed and evasion. Hide and seek, stealth and reconnaissance. Playground fights teach you to use terrain, improvise weapons from whatever's around, and think 3 moves ahead because some 8-year-old is planning to push you off the monkey bars. She gestured to her fellow cadets. You all learned to fight from masters, in controlled environments with rules and honor codes. I learned from the most ruthless, creative, and persistent opponent imaginable, a bored human child with something to prove. The Draconis cadet, Cathor, rumbled in what passed for laughter among his species. The humans train their young for war from childhood? Not for war, Zia corrected. For survival. Earth isn't just dangerous because of the predators or the weather, though those are bad enough. It's dangerous because human children are basically tiny sociopaths with developing impulse control and way too much energy. Surviving a human childhood means learning to think fast, fight dirty, and never ever underestimate an opponent based on size. Vexthul was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Finally, he spoke. "Show us, sir. Show us these techniques your sister taught you. I want to see how a 6-year-old human fights." Zia grinned, an expression that suddenly looked far more predatory than any of her classmates had noticed before. "Okay, but fair warning. Elsa's philosophy is that if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough." She dropped into a stance that looked casual, almost lazy, but something in her posture made several cadets instinctively step back. "Rule number 1, Zia said. According to Elsa, there are no rules." What followed was less a demonstration and more an education in the brutal efficiency of human childhood survival tactics. Zia moved like liquid chaos, employing techniques that had no names in any military. Manual, the fake trip into a shoulder tackle, the distraction, pinch followed by a leg sweep, and the devastating tantrum flail that somehow becomes a perfectly timed uppercut. When the dust settled, 3 more of the Academy's finest warrior cadets were on the ground, looking dazed and thoroughly defeated. Vexthul stood in stunned silence, then began to laugh, a sound like grinding stone that nonetheless conveyed genuine amusement. "Cadet Zia," he said finally, "I think it's time we added human childhood games to our curriculum. If this is what your species considers play, I believe we've been severely underestimating humans as potential warriors." Zia helped her latest sparring partner to his feet, that same gesture of casual kindness that followed devastating combat effectiveness. "Oh, this is nothing," she said cheerfully. "Wait until you meet my little brother. He's 4 and he's figured out psychological warfare." The look of genuine terror that crossed several alien faces suggested that the galaxy was about to gain a whole new respect for human Deathworld training methods. After all, if this was what they learned from their children, what could adult humans do? The answer, Vexthul realized with growing excitement and just a touch of concern, was something the galaxy was probably not prepared for.